It's 3:30 in the morning. I'm on a paddleboard in the middle of Lake Michigan, and all I can see are the faint lights of the Chicago skyline ahead of me in the distance. At this point, I've been in the water for 21 consecutive hours. It's cold, it's dark, and every few minutes, I close my eyes until I hear the voice of one of my support team calling me to wake me up. The reason I'm even doing this is an attempt to cross the 5 Great Lakes, an effort to raise funding and awareness for mental health. But this is where I'm going to fail on what I set out to do. I decided I was going to cross the 5 Great Lakes because of what happened in 2018. In 2018, I owned and operated a paddleboarding business where I taught and shared my love of the water with others. But all that ended when I developed a neurological condition called Ramsay-Hunt syndrome. Over a period of 5 days, my life changed. I developed hearing impairments and loss, obstructed vision, chronic vertigo, and I went from standing on a board for 10 hours a day to not being able to walk. Overnight, I lost my business, my social life, and my independence. What I didn't realize was that the worst was still yet to come. I closed myself off from my family and my friends. I would stop answering the phone, and I would go days without speaking with anybody, but I didn't have to for appearance's sake. A wall went up between me and every single person that I loved, and I grew more and more distant. I felt like I was a burden on every single person that I loved, and I thought that I shouldn't be here anymore. Until one day, I decided that I shouldn't, and I tried to take my own life. On the other side of that, of receiving professional support, I decided that I realized that I wasn't just dealing with my physical health, but I was also dealing with my mental health as well. I didn't know much about mental health at the time. You'd hear stories about it on the news. You'd occasionally hear stories about someone who would take their life, but I didn't know about anything about mental health, or at least that's what I thought. I learned over the next while that that was not the case. Mental health challenges are so widespread in Canada, in the US, and around the world. And the more of it I learned, the more I didn't feel so alone. I realized that up to 12 people per day die by suicide in Canada. It is the second leading cause of death for those aged 15 to 34. Mental health challenges are so widespread, and many don't even know where to start. Where do we start? Well, I decided that I was going to take action. What is the solution to this monster problem that is in front of us? What I came to believe after the last few years is that the answer is in switching the focus on the statistic. 1 in 5 Canadians and Americans will struggle with mental health challenges during their lifetime. So this is not something that we can simply ignore. The answer, I believe, is that we switch the focus on that statistic. We naturally think about the 1 in 5 who is suffering, but that places a big onus on that one person, and that feeds into the stigma associated with mental health. Rather than focusing on the one person, the problem person, what if we place the focus on the other 4 people in that equation? What if those 4 people pulled together to support the one that can't find the help they need anywhere else? Imagine if you had a group of 4 who were your biggest cheerleaders, supporters, and allies. Imagine if you had that at work. Imagine if you had that at school, so that whenever they saw you struggling, they would be there to support you. And science supports this. Research suggests that social connection can decrease our chances of having a heart attack, lower our risks of depression, and improve our overall mental health. Research from Stanford Medicine suggests that connection can improve our longevity by as much as 50%. So what we need are personal support groups of 4 people who are ready to jump in and support us and lift us up when we need them. I felt throughout my journey that I was a burden on those who I loved. I didn't want to hurt my family and my friends, and they weren't prepared to change their relationship with me from son, brother, friend to someone who needed constant help and support. It takes time to change habits, and sometimes there's just not enough time to adjust. So we need a personal support crew of 4 to jump in and lift us up when we need it. That's what happened to me. In the months that followed my diagnosis, I enlisted the support of people in my network to help me get out on the water as much as possible. And as my physical health improved and my mental health improved, I began writing and speaking about mental health to normalize what I'd gone through and to make sure that nobody else ever felt as alone and isolated as I did. In the coming months after that, I began using the paddleboard for events. I partnered with national nonprofits and used the paddleboard to help raise awareness and bring in funding to help support them. But I needed to make a bigger splash if I was going to create big impact. And that's when I decided I was going to try to cross the 5 Great Lakes. But I knew I couldn't do it alone. So I asked some of my friends. I built a team of, you guessed it, 4 people. These 4 people were my go-tos, my rocks, my champions. And with their help, we managed to cross 3 of the 5 Great Lakes. But now I find myself stuck in the middle of Lake Michigan with nothing left to give, being pushed back, ready to fail on what I set out to do. Except my 4 come to my rescue. They can see me struggling. They can see that I feel defeated and hopeless and lost. So they all come out to the side of the support boat so I can see them and that I can see that I'm not alone. We play games, and they joke, and they play loud house music, and they dance, some of them really badly. And they try to make me smile and keep me awake. But it's still not enough. At 4:30 in the morning, one of them makes an executive decision and pulls out a cell phone to play a pre-recorded message from one of my trainers back at home. Mike, if you're listening to this, you're at the worst part of the crossing. It all seems lost, but it's not. You've trained so hard for this. You've worked for this. We are all here with you, and I will see you at the finish line of the 5th Great Lake in a few weeks. Hearing that message with those 4 people gives me the strength and the energy I need to make it to sunrise, and then I'm through the worst of it. At 8:30 in the morning, we land in Chicago, where there are people in the water and waiting on shore. The next day, we make the cover of the Chicago Tribune. News outlets from several countries pick up the story, and the awareness is created, bringing in the funding for mental health programs and services. The mental health crisis costs $50 billion a year to Canada alone, and the price to human suffering cannot be measured. I know it seems like a huge problem. Where do we begin? We're not doctors or legislators or experts, but there is something that you can do. I want you to close your eyes. Think about this. If you were on a paddleboard crossing Lake Michigan, who would you want to have as your four on your support team? Who would champion and cheer and fight for you? Who would support you? Yeah. Open your eyes. Write down their names. Those are your four. Now, I want you to think about the people in your life. All of them. Who can you be that person for? Who can you champion and cheer and support and rally when they need it? Reach out to them. Let them know. Imagine a world where none of us had to go through our greatest struggles alone, where no one ever felt too hopeless to go on. A world where everyone has their four. Thank you.